how we can manage the population growth. It's urban planning, it's smart transportation, and integrated services, especially for social groups that need it more.
Yulia Ermolaeva is a researcher at the Institute of Sociology, Russian Academy of Sciences. She's an expert in sustainability sciences, and with a background in sociology and ecology, she focuses on urban sustainability, including waste management and renewable energy. She actively engages in interdisciplinary projects to promote sustainable practices and behavior, showcasing her commitment to environmental advocacy. Hello, Yulia, and welcome to Green Minds. Green Minds is a new environmic format aimed to provide a platform for experts and professionals to discuss sustainability. We hope to offer an interesting insight for reflection for a better or to better inform those who are still unfamiliar, maybe, with certain topics. Today, we want to discuss a topic that is becoming increasingly popular because it concerns all of us, smart cities. Seeing her combined interest for sociology and environment, Yulia appears as the perfect person to discuss such a topic with. So, hello, Yulia, and first of all, why have smart cities become a popular topic on mainstream media?
Thank you, Roberta, for introduction previously. And I have to say that smart cities was created for making our lives better. It means that these smart services and digital services provides in smart cities the needs that match what people who live there need to achieve and need to consume. But smart cities connected with the pattern of future. In mass media, it's a big source of information about what people want to see in the future and what can do in their life better. Maybe they want some technologies, some comfort that based on digital technologies, or they just want some feeling of the hope in the future when they see some patterns of a green and comfortable city. And social media as the agent has a few functions here. It's formed these expectations by citizens, give an indication about how to use these new smart technologies in the city and how it's working and why it's important for the cities in short and long-lasting perspective. And for me, it's a big question now how we can use all of this information from social media to make our smart cities more better for living. We look for social media data to find useful patterns and trends for how we can organize our life and our behavior in how we can live in these new smart cities. It's our reality. But I mentioned for myself that social media now about this about everything that connected with smart cities, divided on the black and white sides. And the white one side, it's some future pattern, future image with high effective and super comfortable green space for living, green buildings, and everybody feels in harmony here and feel happiness and everyday comfort because their needs satisfied in one moment. It's typically for all futuristic utopia that we read and see before in films and books. But I want to appeal from the other dark side. For example, in one of the series of Black Mirror, I think it's very popular worldwide series. It's a good example for us, where it shows how these smart technologies can destroy different parts of social life and communication. For example, in what series was presented the app for measurement the social rating and social status in real life. Its rating depends from social evaluation of every action that person in interconnection received from other persons. And we see how it determines social status. It's determines the social and marriage opportunities, the level of living and living conditions in new cities, and the quality of life as a whole. And this total digitalization, the series shows how small conflict that happened in this area can destroy all life and everything that the person achieved before. So it's the dark side of the total digitalization is city. In sociology, we names as policeman government. And this camera total control reside in Arabic universe or universe in Arabic United Arab Emirates and in China. And of course, it helped to follow the law, struggling with criminal and make citizens more docile. But this is a good example for thinking for us about deep moral dilemmas that we have to solve in smart cities communication in future.
That's very, very interesting input that you start with. I want to ask you why, in your opinion, is the current situation problematic? So why do we need to rethink the way we manage urban life?
Thank you. The first problem is population growth, and especially in the cities and megacities, and infrastructure of cities growing too. The second problem is how we can manage different flow of materials, data, communication, and how we can unite this in one system for manage this system. The third problem, of course, it's environmental and sustainability issues. It's the water, air, soil pollution in the city and quality of this infrastructure, natural infrastructure and ecosystem services. And the problem of urban planning infrastructure of the city, because the percent of old energy, of non-energy efficient buildings and access to fresh water and medicine being to be more better than now. And of course is social economic disparities, different kind of inequalities, because urban areas often face social economic inequalities, including disparities in access to education, healthcare, housing, and job opportunities, social divisions, rising inequality, and other kinds of many inequality. And how we can deal with that. Now we know that in many countries and cities will be high percentage of aging of population. It deals with people who more than 60 ages, and we expect that for the 2050 this proportion will reach flow 4/5, and it's also deals with the population over 19 and older that will experience the fastest growth, and it's all about and developing countries. So consistently that the needs of the cities as well as their populations will evolve, and we have to rethinking and sustainable mobility, inclusivity, urban health structure, and the development of more accessible technology for them, because if people aging, of course, there is need changing. According to digital good access, it's necessary to talking about communication equality, because if we are totally moving to digitalization of the cities, we have to pay attention that smart technology must be available for everybody, and the skills how we can use the smart technology in our daily life, have access to our healthy and our efficiency life in the city. The next problem that what I have to pay attention is the housing crisis, because many individuals now struggling to access for decent and affordable housing options. We know that prices rising worldwide, and storages in housing supply, particularly affordable units, leading to increased competition and inflated prices in houses markets. So it creates some social glass ceiling for everybody, for many people who don't have any opportunities to buy flat, or they can receive their flat from their relative or something else. I want to pay attention also on social inclusivity in cities with mental and physical limitations.
So we can definitely say that this issue involves the environment, yes, in the first place, but then also the social connection, so the health of everybody, and most of all, also, we are talking about social justice. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct, because how we can manage the population growth, it's urban planning, it's smart transportation in integrated services, especially for social groups that need it more. And management materials communication, data flows with circular economy, with green infrastructure, with sustainable social practices, with renewable energy sources, water conservation. It's efficient services delivery and governments, of course, because people who make a decision of all of this, they have to determine the adequate social policy for all of this, environmental policy too. And it promotes adaptive and forward-looking governance practices to meet emerging social needs and sustainability issues too. And it's make the better decision-making process, but through these digital platforms, we try to enhance accountability, public access to this information in civil engagement, because we know we have to need about their needs. And we have to satisfy their needs.
Another question that comes to my mind is, does traditional community management negatively influence the social and the economical development of residents? And if so, how?
Thank you for this question. For answers this, we have to look for an example, the concrete city, and ask common stakeholders why it's happening. So do they feel any negative influence from the lack or against from existence of these smart technologies and smart city concept development? And at the second question, when we want to identify effects, we have to ask primarily negative effect from whom, for what social groups. And yes, there are cities that opposing the implementation of the concept of smart cities, despite of global movement to sustainability in smart technologies. And it deals with specific resistance to smart city initiative that's based on the unique factor, cultural or social, or deals with local concerns or cultural habits. For example, Adelaide City in Australia controversy resistant from comes from activists in politicals, because the installation of technology linked with smart cities and reflecting opposing cultural views. Just for this, because it's they are not respect this concept as whole. But for example, Cape Town in Africa, San Francisco, and Toronto in Canada, they care about privacy in civil liberties issues and security of data. And it's their democratic government's decision for everybody, because they did survey and they decided that will be so.
I see. So far, we have seen what issues the management of an urban reality has to face in general. But we don't want to only denounce a problem. What we want to do is also to find a solution. So my question is, can you briefly introduce us the concept of smart city and why this can be the solution, and what people mean when they use the term smart city?
Okay, smart cities use digital technology to gather a lot of different kinds of information in a detailed way across the city and analyzed, improve various services with this data, for example, transportation, safety, healthcare, public services for everyone. For example, for residents, for visitors, for companies, for the government too, because it's common stakeholders that includes in this process. And this approach makes city living and transportation more efficient and safety. But I have to pay attention for main principles in integration of green infrastructure and smart technologies and sustainable development and smart city as a hub of innovation and sustainability, with integration into sustainability as a common concept. And because of sustainability divides into 3 dimensions, we have our environmental issues that we have to deal with. It's green building and infrastructure. It's implementing of eco-friendly design infrastructure for minimizing environmental impact and green spaces for living, green and blue zones. It's circular economy principles in design of everything that's produced in the city. It deals with urban ecosystem. It's what we told that promoting in life cycle of the city as a unit. It's waste reduction, recycling, and reuse of resource. It's resource efficiency as whole. So it's energy management. It's implementing different kinds of services that promote energy efficiency and smart grid technologies. If city is in city possible to implement renewable energy sources to optimize energy, of course, blockchain, smart grid can be useful here too. It's smart mobility and smart transportation. It's optimization and intelligent transportation system, includes traffic management, public transport, different kinds of transport of vehicles, in enhanced mobility and reduce traffic congestion and environmental impact. At whole, it's the question of urban resilience and disaster management, because many cities, for example, on marine areas or some disaster and climate risk areas, and we have to mitigate these risks too and enhance urban resilience in the face of natural disasters, and organize a civil community to deal with that. In the question of resource efficiency is the problem of smart water and food security too, because we can manage with smart technology a lot of these flows and reduce food waste, reduce wastewater too, optimize water usage, prevent water wastage, and choose sustainable water management practices with promoting sustainable behavior in households. The economy of the smart cities differs from the system of usual economy. It's
traditional. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm just following
public-private partnership, because it's involve different kinds of collaborations between governmental bodies and private enterprises to develop and implement smart city project, and private companies plays here a pivotal role because they have technological expertise and innovations, and they can help to regulatory and support the green infrastructure. And it's value creation mechanism, value capture mechanism, because they need foundation, and we have to thinking about fund further developments and some economical instruments, for example, tax increment of financing, developing impact fees, some opportunities for business, and a portion of the value created by smart city project, like kind of special investitions. Yes. So it's a economic model that oriented for consumer. It's user pay models that involve charging units or beneficiaries for specific smart city services for utilities. It's can be includes all services that I was listed before, but it can be using by initiatives of citizens too, because they follow for there as usual what we can improve. Social, of course, it's big issues of social and governance principles, because it must be civil-centric approach, where the needs of citizens can be the most important. It must improve transparency of these smart and digital technologies in the city, collaborative city planning in infrastructure, its inclusive design and accessibility. It's data-driven governments for different kinds of services that provides for citizens, and Internet of Things that, for example, markets and internet markets that can be accessible for all citizens, and all products can be access for sustainable mobility. So it's public safety and surveillance.
I see. And according to this, so to, let's say, what influenced the life of everybody, you mentioned early transportation. So does what we are talking about influence public and private transportation? You already said something about it, but what I mean is, does it mean that we all need to drive electric vehicles or bikes, or are there, I don't know, other alternatives in the pipeline?
Okay, we have to pay attention. It's all about territorial planning of one city that we have discussed now. For example, what kind of transport on vehicles can satisfy the needs of these citizens in this city? Because approach of the sustainable city must be individual. Yes, we have main principle, but it's always must be individual. And designing urban spaces with a focus on accessibility and universal design principle, mix of land use zoning to ensure easy access to services, and public transportation for all residents, including people with disability, must be decision for all cities. But the second question is existing transport infrastructure that we have now, because not all cities we building from the zero, from empty places. As usual, we have a historical center for many cities, and we have the modern part of the cities. If you
definitely have this problem in many European countries.
Yes, and not only European.
Yeah, sure, for sure, yes. But you know, it's the reality that I know better, because as you know, I live in Italy, and if I think about bigger Italian city, this can actually be a problem.
Oh yes, you have the small tight streets that's sometimes impossible to move here, not about vehicles. Yes, I know this. If I come back to our questions, the second was it's existing transport infrastructure. If we need electric vehicles, a charging station, what kind of energy will be used for charging? For example, if it's renewable energy will be from, or it will be energy from power station on fuels that are based on fuels. This environmental and resource efficiency on the different kinds of LCA, life cycle analysis stages, will be different, of course. But we can using some energy efficiency like on common places, and we have to use smart parking systems and green spaces to support environmentally sustainable and reduce the environmental footprint on transportation system. Yes, the third part is citizens' habits and limitations. Not all city dwellers can use bike or electric vehicles or cars, for example. You know, the case of Italy, it's a good example here. And for example, this question, I return to the concept of social and transport mobility. Here, common requirements for public and private transport. It must be environmentally friendly, is accessible in city infrastructure, and following principles of inclusivity. But sustainable mobility, common sense, can sustain without damage to all listed priorities. It might be defined by distance that a person or group of people or society as common. It can cover within a central period of time for work, purpose, or access to basic services. And sustainable mobility must meet a number of indications. Its stability of mobility system in the city, its comfort, its quality, its establish equal access for all citizens to work, education, and basic services, and creates an environmentally friendly and safe urban environment. And its intermodality is a key factor because we can use few types of transport for achieve our goal. It's necessary for planning, urban planning. And of course, it's sharing services that we used in the city. It can be like a taxi, like a rent of cars or bikes or other kinds of vehicles. And I want to talk about some technology that now is broad spreading in global experience in smart cities. It's a real time of data monitoring, of smart scheduling, and smart in traffic transitions, transition flows. It's hybrid cars because sometimes we have to need more acceptability and low emissions public transport options because it must be popular in China now and in Russia too. It's different algorithms of how we can monitoring our transportation to minimize traffic congestions, improve road safety, and reduce travel jam in city. So it's different platforms for citizens, how we can manage our traffic and our mobility in the city. For example, bike sharing, carpooling, you can rent them online and have to go here, to take this bike and ride. So we have to provide ride-hailing services, and I can say that fostering of collaboration between different kinds of stakeholders, public authorities, private sector stakeholders, research institutions with innovation, and local communities can so create innovative solutions.
So how does the issue involve the environment, the social connection, health, and social justice?
So smart cities involved in sustainable development goals with conception of sustainable development. It means that smart cities have covered environmental, economic, and social dimensions, and smart cities make access to all kinds of goods easier. And the first priority of smart cities is development of the infrastructure as the skeleton of the city and solving the environmental issues. And prioritize sustainable development with emphasis of green spaces, energy efficient building, and renewable energy sources and waste management. This focus helps mitigate environmental degradation and reduce urban heat island effect and foster biodiversity to improve overall environmental conditions. It's a base for our surviving. It's necessary for for providing our living conditions, and it's in conditions interconnected with the public health. And have to pay attention at physical comfort and stressful factors of the life in the megacities and smart cities too. Obviously that the air and water and food quality must be qualitative and economically affordable for the citizens. And the air quality depends from the what kinds of energy sources used for promoting the traffic and heating and electricity production in the city, because low of oxygen level because of transport emissions can lead to GPC and blood pressure disorders. And noise pollution above 50 decibels disturb concentration and have a negative effect for memory and sleep. And the time that we spend in transport and traffic increases the level of chronic stress, not only physical but social stress too, because scientists had experiments, and every 40 minutes that we spent in rush hour on the public transport on the traffic jam doubles social stress. So different kinds of information and data give us digital overload that can decrease our mental skills in long perspective. But city dwellers live longer than villages and residents for small city because we have better access to healthcare services and smart medicines infrastructure, because as usual, it's always from the different sides we can look at this. And in addition, city dwellers, yes, then we have a lot of experience of the feeling social stresses. It arises against the backdrop from social discrimination, overcrowding, social indifference, loneliness sometimes, and overabundance of events. But social inequality in the cities recognize that like environmental and social justice that's closely linked with environmental degradation. Because, for example, air and water pollution and inadequate waste management and a lack of green spaces are often concentrated in low-income neighborhoods and have negative effects for the health and well-being of these residents. And by approaching the incorrection of environmental and social justice with living conditions in cities through the lens of social sustainability, it's possible to work with social policy toward creating cities more equitable, healthy, and smart. Governments can provide these services for all kinds of citizens, not only for who living in good conditions, of course. And I want to say one more good idea that antidote is located in the same place where we see the poison, because city, thanks to this diversity and physical mobility, creates much more social and economic and professional opportunities. Cities develop our creativity, human performance, and helps our self-realization.
Yeah, for sure. That's very true. Very interesting. In the management of any city, it is mandatory to consider the waste management. It is very important. How does it work for smart cities? Does it mean a city would adopt circular economy model, or is there a way to put it into practice? And also, how non-recyclable waste can be handled in a smart city?
Yes. What I want to say for beginning, the circular economy is economy without any waste, and all we design in circular economy must be to have no waste. But we have a model that close to sustainable economic. We know that we have some waste, but we have tried to decrease the quantity of waste that we produced. Of course, we have to pay attention to resource acquisitions and productions, because we have to know what we have in our system, what material flows. And of course, smart technology can be used here, because we begin to work on the stage on product design and manufacturing. And we can use this here artificial intellect, and for example for produce some products. And as on the scale of city, we can use the technology of digital twins for product life cycle management for different kinds of flows, because this technology can help us to modeling what we have in the result, if we will be produced, for example, more or less waste. On the study of the waste collection, we can use some sensor into waste bins for optimizing waste collection routes, reducing operation costs, and promoting efficient waste management practices. For waste transportation, we can use principle about smart and sustainable mobility and route optimization software, how we can organize our waste flows for different kinds of stakeholders, for recycle business, or for wasteland if it's not possible to recycle, or for incinerations, but we don't like this decision. And for example, on the stage of waste disposal and treatment, yes, it's many kinds of landfill monitoring technology, and then see the possible recyclable waste on this stage. It's recycling automation on the disposal stations. For example, it's used in Moscow. The different kinds of systems optimize the different kinds of waste and sort this on the different fractions. And on different waste collection stage, we can use some optimization software advanced algorithms that can organize our transportation routines, reducing fuel consumption, emissions, and operation costs on different kinds of fabrics that working with waste collection or waste recycling. So for waste procession or for recyclable stage, we can use waste to energy, but we have to know that it's the last stage that we used in waste management system, in effective management system, because it's not about principle of circular economy. It just we lose our recyclable materials on this stage. And artificial intelligence and robotics can be effectively do this and sort recyclable materials from mixed kind of waste streams. But I have to pay attention that some social inclusive groups have a lot of works thanks for deals with waste processing and waste sorting. It's some kinds of green jobs initiative, and have to pay attention that it's not can be problem for social policy questions. So, and on the kind of waste disposal stage, I have to pay attention to sustainable behavior and social environmental practices for citizens, because for some social technologies, for example, nudging, we can promote a more sustainable behavior. We can teach how we can organize our households with less, and we can produce less waste than we produced before. So, of course, we need some data analytics and management technologies. It's predictive analytics, it's some foresights on the stage of creating a waste management system, and informed decision making for unite different kinds of stakeholders for decision making. I think that there is no cities that can be wasteless. Maybe some villages can be wasteless, because cities it's too difficult for chaotic system. But some areas in different cities have an interesting experience. For example, in USA it's Phoenix. They try to improve waste collection efficiency and try to increase the quantity of waste that they can recycle. The Barcelona in Spain, Barcelona now separately. Yes.
Barcelona.
Yes. Okay. Barcelona optimize waste collection services and enhance operational efficiency. Moreover, in different season, where a lot of touristic flows or less touristic flows, they try to optimize all the system for needs of different citizens and visitors. In Copenhagen, they have a lot of apps and smart waste management technology to improve waste sorting system and reduce land waste initiative. Sao Paulo in Brazil integrated sensors in systems to effectively monitor waste collection and optimize truck routes. And of course, Singapore, they have a lot of kinds of bins for sorting every micro flow of different kinds of waste, fractions of waste for management practices. So we see that it can be many kinds of technologies that we can use in the cities, but of course I have to pay attention that it must be a systemical approach, and it must be we have to look what source of waste produced in this city. For example, more plastic or more foods or more paper, and organized the design of and try to organize circular model design.
Yeah, you are very right. Actually, it's not possible to have one solution that fits for every city, because every city, every population have different problematic, different number of inhibitions and so on. So strategies must be personalized on each city, basically. So apart from waste management and transportation we talked about already, you mentioned earlier renewable energy. And I think that in common sense, when you think about smart cities, the first link you do is indeed with renewable energies. Do you think this assumption can be correct in your opinion? And my question is, how can renewable power plants be implemented in larger cities? And are energetic communities part of the strategies? And more, can we use existing energy grid, or do we need to rebuild the energy distribution?
So we know that more than 70% of all energy productions we produced in the cities, and more than 80% of emissions we produce in the cities too. And not all metropolises now can use just renewable energy for cover their energy consumption needs. It's necessary to observe the technical and economical potential of the area of the city. Also, stability of energy production for renewable energy here, and we have to pay attention for what kind of energy or hybrid energy system or sources can be used here. If using renewable energy isn't possible in this case, cities will action to energy efficiency policy and energy saving strategy, or they use a mix renewable and energy that produce on fuels. But for example, if we build the city from the zero, it's the new city, smart city, of course, we can implemented renewable energy sources because we have geothermal energy, we have wind parks, we have solar energy, we have recuperators of heating in buildings. Yes, we have a lot of opportunities how we can organize this, how we can organize zero emissions building. Yes, but if we have a historical city, or maybe, for example, we can produce this in one area with renewable sources, but we can do it in another places because we not covered our consumption needs it in energy. We have to use other technologies. I see that here are some local decision, for example, recuperation plants for home, solar heating systems in private households. But for example, if we want to cover the needs of the energy in big buildings, I don't think that it will be possible to create, for example, it's in historical old building. It will be very difficult. But I can follow the energy transition idea that was formulated by Jeremy Rifkin, and he talking about energy transitions principles in future. And some of this it's happened today. For example, it's transition to renewable energy sources in future in new cities. It's turning all buildings on every continent into mini power plants and use of hydrogen and other alternative technologies, and its use of internet technology to transform the power grid of each continent into smart grid. It's providing energy distribution that's similar to the distribution of information on the internet for combining different kinds of energy and provide access to all kinds of energy mix. These energy flows. It's transfer of the vehicle fleets to plug in electric or fuel cell-based cell vehicles, which can receive energy from the smart continental grid and release excess energy to the grid. And the conceptual framework for sustainable transition is built on 3 levels, and we have to pay attention that it's so technical process. We have to investigate it interdisciplinary because all this system changed all our communications, not just in energy infrastructure in the cities. It's changed the relationship between different kinds of stakeholders. The transition from the hierarchical structure where the government, like a centralized system, covered the needs of different stakeholders, became the horizontal structure, whereas the generators, like mini plants, mini energy unit, became a single consumer that's in the same time and consumer and provider of energy system, and provided different kinds of needs. He can sell, he can buy this energy from the other kinds of mini consumer. So if we come back to the cases, just a few cities that have a good experience for providing 100% of renewable energy. It's Birmingham, Vermont, that's they using the mix of wind, solar, and hydroelectric facilities. It's Reykjavik, land that they used geothermal in hydropower, but they have a little bit percent of fuels, but they reduce reliance on fossil fuels too. And Barcelona use the solar energy projects for covering their energy needs for providing sustainable and environmental friendly energy supplies. Of course, Denmark, because they have a lot of opportunities in implementation on different kinds of wind energy. They aiming to become carbon neutral by next year. But I think it's not realized.
Not possible.
And yes, and Seattle implementing electric and solar power generation projects to support their renewable energy goals. So I said about that we have that's like a smart technologies in renewables. We use smart grids. It's a lot of forecasting systems for wind and solar plants, because we have to know the wind force, we have to know the solar and wind power generations in control system that enable remote control of wind turbines, ensuring optimal performance and proactive management for solar, wind, and hydro energy. It's energy management system that divides into energy saving and energy efficiency, environmental and social policy, with distributed energy resources and demand response technologies. And of course, the new kind of technologies and its energy storage solutions with smart battery and virtual power plants.
Okay, so what is very common in many cities that I have visited, bigger or smaller, is some approach to the sharing economy. For example, as we mentioned before, transportation, talking about transportation, it's very common to see the shared use of cars or bikes. And my question is this model going in the right direction in building a new way to organize life in a city? And my second question is, are there other services or goods despite transportation that can be shared in the same way?
Thank you. I think that this principles of sharing economy is the most simple way to organize the smart practices in the city. We talk about the shared mobility services, and I have to pay attention to resale platforms, to the market platforms that are organized by different kinds of stakeholders. As usual, it's business. It's useful for waste reduction and for prolonging life cycle of different kinds of products. It's shared workplaces and spaces for co-living. We, for example, with common garden or different food services that can be provided on these co-living spaces. I think that it's became so popularly because it's shared the economical opportunities of the citizens, and it's make a lot of benefits for government, because maybe they some of these financial flows not so transparent, and the different kinds of smart services makes these initiatives more transparent for buyer and for a consumer. As a cases, I have to pay attention on Singapore, on Amsterdam, on San Francisco, because they realize a lot of initiatives in collaborative smart consumption, resale platforms, integrates public transport, and waste reduction initiative, for example, in smart or in San Francisco, with optimized resource utilizations and exchange with the recyclable materials between different kinds of business. And they created some of like industrial parks when the waste from another interest create for the material for the other business. And of course,
I'm sorry, but can I interrupt you? It's interesting that you mentioned many times more or less the same cities. You mentioned often during this interview San Francisco, you mentioned Copenhagen more than once, Singapore also. I was just noticing that I mean, you really see the difference when there is a mentality that goes in that direction. Then step by step, these cities are really able to manage things differently. And then one thing comes after the other, and it looks like if the difficult part is the first step, and then everything follows.
Yes, one city became the leader in some, for example, in waste management, like San Francisco. Why? Because they have a lot of waste, and it was difficult for them to manage all of the system, and they faces these issues, and they did a good alternative system of waste management, and then became a leader in this. Yes, we did this. We solved this problem, and all kinds of cities that I listed before is the leader of the smart cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That least listed in every agencies, but yes, because for example, if I will pay attention on Dubai, they build from the zero some technologies because they used the experience of other cities from USA, from Europe.
Yeah.
And
So
the same in Moscow.
So they became basically leading examples for different realities that would like to start the same strategies. And with their example, they are able to show that it's actually possible. I bet you already did, but I bet you can point out more realities that already exist, where all we discussed today is already in place. For example, if I am thinking about the city where you live, so Moscow, that is an important capital city, I'm sure it has implemented strategies to address these issues. Can you tell us a little bit more about this example? And despite Moscow, do you have other examples despite those we discussed already?
Moscow, for example, 15 years ago, and now it's two different cities. Because I remember how changing the Moscow all this time. Of course, it's something incredible that our government do with this city. The concept of smart city is a city where for us, for Moscow, It's system where existing resources of urban services that utilized optimally to provide the greatest convenience to residents. And to achieve these integrations between smart city projects and government service, we have to pay attention, for example, on the cover of internet and mobile internet, because we cover it. It's everywhere. You can find it everywhere. It's smart and sustainable transport because we have a lot of apps which helps us to organize our trip to anywhere. We have different kinds of transport. It's metro, and I think it's unique system, because maybe you see it's divided into circles that divide into lines, different kinds of lines. It's very easy to follow and to change your trip. And we have electrobuses now. It's around 2,000.
Because this is actually a topic, like, to work, it must be easy, it must be functional. Otherwise, people will prefer to use a different system.
Yes, we can use a different system, because now for these buses we have a separate weight on the road, and you can go here more free than before, because it's interesting problem solving, because we have a lot of traffic jam in the city, but we have a lot of projects that change infrastructure of roads in the city. With many stages, but for example, I prefer use public transport. I love metro. I love the system of metro. And after that, we will have something around 5,000 of the electrobuses. It's something incredible in European cities, I think. And will we have small electric ships. Yes, I will make a photo sometimes, but it looks so cute. I don't use some another word, because there is now some kind of something similar project like this, and our government will develop this electro ship system. So we have a lot of electronic services provided by governments for traffic, for make appointment with the doctor, the card that you can use for payment everywhere in the traffic, in the markets, everywhere. We have electronic services for school, for educational platforms, for the how we can organize our documents. For example, you can change passport, you can marry, you can divorce with the same kind of electronic government site, very optimized for citizens. You can use electronic apps for visit doctors, and we have a lot of platforms for residents for connecting with Moscow government. For example, the platform Our Cities and Active Citizens. There is something about 5 or 6 millions that registered in this site, and you can write your problem, and the part of government that needs to solve this problem, they answer it to you, and you can see online on which stage your problem right now. So you have electronic houses. You can full online your metrics about water or electricity consumptions, and we have a lot of video control on the streets. It's not like about policeman government. It's they collect data for the traffic, and for example, from some from some kind of infrastructure. So and we have a lot of sharing platforms. It's not only international Avito, it's also Yulia. we use it for sale and buy some second-hand products. We have a lot of resale platform now. So it's like second-hand online, and food sharing and sharing Mac platform. And my friends organized this initiative, and I'm very proud that I know her. So it's a lot of sharing services, and people use it because it's has a lot of economical benefits, and it's connected people, of course.
That's very interesting. And again, we go back to the point where if we want something to be popular, it must be smart in a sense that it's easy to use for people and that it actually makes a change in their life and it make their life easier. As you said, sharing services or whatever economically is a benefit for families and citizens who can save some money, which is never bad. So to try to conclude, in your opinion, why do we need smart city to be a topic? And from a from a sociological perspective, why is it important to discuss and to implement smart city? And why do we need them to be more and more popular?
It will be more and more popular. I think it's so. But we have to pay attention how we can provide to good access for needs citizens. If I will be back to our introduction of this problem, increase effectivenesses for all social groups that includes in process, because I see it's very hard to aging people to use smart cities technologies, and these smart city technologies that provided by in business innovations, they must be oriented all over. They must be thinking about design for all, inclusivity. So it's urbanism trend for nowadays and future, and we how consumers. I remember this reels in Instagram. It just I want to mention that these reels was like around dark side of the smart technology, because for example, we can imagine our full smart technologies home, our household, and you manage it with your voice what you want to do, for example, online something, off something, take a bathroom, make it easier, yes, organize your time at home. And the person that was in these reels, he was a dentist and lost his voice. So he came to the door, and the artificial intellect that reacts on his voice, he not recognize him. He can't open the door. He can't enter the home. I mean that we have to thinking about the alternative. Yes, about the balance in our life with smart technologies and comfort of living.
For sure. Okay, so Yulia, thank you very much. Our time, I would say we used the time we had to go deeply into the subject, and I'm very happy that we did. So I think our chat was very productive. I thank you very much for your time and for your knowledge, and I thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and with our platform.
You're welcome for introduce me to participants in your wonderful projects. You're always welcome.